Hello, my sparkling, glimmering spirits of infinite cosmic wonder. It is I, Dave Makes Noises, the Michael Bolton of Dungeons & Dragons Storytime on YouTube. Just a quick reminder to check out our subreddit, r/Mr. Ripper, if you have a new story to submit, and a humble request to join us on our live streams. Storytime on Sundays and D&D on Wednesdays, currently at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. GMT, on those aforementioned days. Also, if you're a DM or a player looking for a party to play some Dungeons & Dragons, consider joining our Discord community. Just read the rules first, please and thanks. Now then, with that out of the way, tell me, friendo, what's the worst instance of metagaming you've seen? Part 2. I was DMing a game where the players were searching old ruins. They passed a corridor into the plane of shadow. My players were new to D&D and weren't aware of the different planes. This one player was playing a sorcerer. Since things had just gotten very dark, he cast a light spell to brighten up the place. I told him it didn't work, part of the plane's traits. The other players were intrigued, and this particular player was so intrigued, he went on Google when his turn was over. In the middle of another person's turn, he interrupts, exclaiming, "Guys, we're on the shadow plane. None of our lights will work, not even magic." I was trying to keep that a secret, but sure, you can go ahead and Google shit. After all, D&D is a game, and a game is no fun without cheats. Last week, I got a bag of devouring, and had the idea to stuff enemies in it after using my monk's stunning strike to ensure they failed the strength save. One of the other players, who's never played before this campaign, decided this was overpowered and immediately broke character, doing anything she could to take the bag and destroy it so we could beat the boss fairly. She didn't even try to justify this in character, she just decided to suddenly roleplay, game balance enforcer, and refused to continue fighting the boss that was mauling her until someone else destroyed the bag just to shut her up. She knew what she was doing was inappropriate metagaming, but openly said that she didn't care. At the launch of 4th edition, there was a pre-written game my group played. A cousin of one of our players wanted to play with us. He then proceeded to be quite adamant about making a rogue, going as far as saying that he never made a rogue in the past and really wanted to check it out for the first time in a new system. We agree. Our usual rogue wanted to try something new, so she was happy. So in the opening crawl, he starts sneaking around in a weird pattern in this room and then happened to find the hidden treasure, which he then used a sleight of hand to pocket it without us seeing. Now, we didn't know that he had avoided all the traps, but the DM did. He was quickly called out on it, and the guy laughingly said that he had actually played it a couple days before, was never invited to another game with us again. I played with a large party, about 8 to 14 per session, in a shop campaign. We were in a dungeon and found a portal. 2 of us jump in to see what's up and find it to be a one-way. We toss some supplies in with a note to wait up there. The party then goes to a boss fight with a dragon, but me and a friend decide that it is pointless and go back and into the portal. The DM tells us that we are now splitting up the party into our sessions to account for the 2 groups. The main party attacked the dragon and nearly die, but clench it out. It was then our turn to act, and the main group to sit back. The party leader didn't like that, and as his last action on their turn, had the group jump into the portal. The DM tells us that we are now one group again, and the party moves on. TLDR waited for an hour for the main party to do a thing, only to lose our turn. I once played in a campaign with an intensely competitive DM that felt the players had to be beaten in every single encounter. Like, if they get saved or get lucky, it needed to be by her intervention of an NPC, or we just get straight up beaten, but the bandits or whatever decide to spare our lives after telling us how horrible we were. It was a wildly abusive campaign, and no matter what choice we made, we'd run into commoners somehow stronger than our heroes, calling us New Bloods. There was this weird cult backstory, and intimidating/threatening our heroes. There was a carnival going on, and there was a shooting competition. My player was a gunslinger, and I figured I would have some fun doing that. I start rolling and winning a series of target shoots when suddenly the DM's captain of the guard shows up and personally challenges me to a shoot-off. He's level 20, +7 enchanted pistols with insane stats, and we're like level 4 at this point. He, of course, beats me and is like,
"Ha! I thought you were supposed to be talented, new blood."
Then storms off, complaining about how we were wasting his time. The metagaming was just in the continuously sabotaging anything the players tried to do. No matter what decision we made, it was the wrong one. No matter what we said, it was the wrong thing. It was impossible to mislead anyone because they would have exactly the right information needed to contradict whatever was said. The city guard were omniscient. The enemies, unable to be beaten, etc. The final draw was the only character that had been nice to us in the game. The barmaid at the tavern we were staying at turned out to be a succubus. We passed some insane rolls to chase her down while she ran away, and one of our characters managed to wrestle her to prevent her from using magic to escape. Then, as soon as she's pinned, the DM just says,
"She slowly fades away, soon leaving your hands grasping at nothing but air."
I had my gunslinger take his gun off his back, put it in his mouth, and blow his own head off. My dwarf friend sunk his axe into his own face. The other 2 player characters killed themselves as well. Just no. In high school, I wanted to run a party through the Giants Descent Queen series. Some of them had played through the opening modules before, but none of them had made it through to Lulth. So we started in on the Hill Giants. Guy at the end of the table says, "I sneak by the sleeping guards. Go into the bedroom to the left of the side hallway. Go through the secret door. Go back to the royal chambers. And get the magic sword from behind the painting on the wall." Details of actual geography fuzzy. Everyone got really quiet at the table, waiting to see how I'd react. I think my exact words were, "Get out." I keep it like my last GM. He simply upped the difficulty level for people who pre-read. Like you knew where the guards were and how many. Imagine the Pulp Fiction surprise scene when we bust in the room, kill 4 guys, manage to count the glasses, and we realize, wait a minute, there's 5 guys? Imagine our surprise when the door to the toilet opened and our guy stood there, a fully charged wand of fireball in the hand, and in 3/4 cover. Lost 2 party members as the result of that. Guy insisted to speculate what was awaiting us in the arena, including what level dragon it was and so on. Surprise, they found an imp in a suit that read off a scroll basically saying that we should tell the owner of the dungeon that the dragon wormling had gone on maternity leave and left her replacement. A rust monster that made short work with a few dozen of the party's most prized magical items. Barbarian that discussed what drinks he would take as he recognized the adventure. Yeah, that bar wench whose bum he grabbed was a bard. Piercing scream. And 10 no's. No more glass flasks for the drinks. Player insisted that he should have the right to 15-minute discussions during combat and reading all the monsters' manuals. Since it was trivial to modify an existing monster, hello Gunny, the vampire who had a pendant for emulating monsters and handing out negative levels. The rogue who complained about lackluster standard traps? Oh god, I never forgot Grimtooth's Trap Emporium ever again, as long as I live. The general rule of thumb was, if it was a case where he could not prove malintent, the CR of the entire adventure was increased by 2. If it was tailored to the situation, and one guy thought he could impress by dressing up pre-knowledge, hey there, it's Mr. Gary Gygax encounter table. Let's see how you die today. The entire party took advantage of the fact that he had strewn a few bits of the story to come in a drunken state. This was the time when he introduced us to Ravenloft, as a Call of Cthulhu fan. Assumes a fetal position and screams, "This is my cold iron dagger! This is my alchemical silver dagger. I have to master them like I have to master life." My buddy created a world for us to play in called Hellworld, where all NPCs were aware of metagame loopholes. This was in 3.5, so doors were made of fighters and dragons carried mages with amulets of featherfall and 2 wands secured together. The first wand was magic missile, the second was fireball, so it was like a machine gun with a grenade launcher. My favorite was that everyone in a particular nation was named Bill. In large temples, they had massive rooms of resurrection, the ones where you just have to say the person's name and they come back. So the priests of this nation would continuously chant, "Bill!" over and over, so that they could keep sending them back to combat. Once, a player was being particularly meta, so the same friend used the rules to create a half-undead troll. Of course, being half-undead, it was immune to fire, and being a troll, immune almost everything else. Thus, a CR3 critter that haunted us until, if I recall correctly, somebody wished it away. DM's girlfriend is in the campaign and helped build the world and story. So as we played through what little we did, we battled favoritism mostly. Don't let your girlfriend re-roll just because she makes a pouty face. But the world was supposed to be, well, open. The campaign was based on the ambitions of our characters, and we as players could do whatever we wanted, so long as we accepted the consequences. We all knew what the other players wanted to do in the long run of the game. 2 were making a bid at the throne. 1 was just a scholar and wanted to learn. Her character was like a 4-year-old with magic. 1, the girlfriend, wanted to finish the campaign and save the kingdom from war that we weren't supposed to know was coming, and I wanted to summon a demon of the chaos god Tsench, and a whole bunch of Warhammer 40k lore that would just generally fuck things up. As we reached a certain point in the game, she began to fight us in and out of character, trying to stop us from moving forward with our plans. She went so far as to try and lock me in a house for the entirety of 1 session, because she knew very well I was going to find a way to start setting up the assassination of the queen or something. We wanted to break away from the party and do our own thing and come back to our meat shields later, but she refused to let anything happen but the main line because she knew the whole story. I should point out that we no longer play with this DM or his girl for good reason. Good reason indeed. My most recent D&D group had a player who loved to stomp all over surprises and plot points. Half my group was brand new to D&D, with next to no D&D knowledge. 2 other players just weren't the sort to call out shit. But this one player loved doing it, like that person who insists on guessing the twist ending to a movie, out loud, so everyone in the theater hears. I had an NPC who was secretly a dragon. It took a couple sessions in which one of my players decided her rogue was very into this pretty silver-haired elf chick. The party had grown to really like this NPC and were curious what secret she was keeping. When the offender thought she might be a dragon, he simply slapped the table and declared it, out of character, in front of everyone. Her reveal as a dragon was going to be a big moment in that session, and he stomped all over it. I had a session where the party was going to explore a haunted mansion looking for cultists. Eventually, they would find a cultist leader building a flesh golem in the basement, Frankenstein style. I even had her building it out of parts of an NPC the party hated and had recently let die. As soon as the offender sees the lightning tower on the outside of the mansion, in a campaign where such a thing wouldn't be out of place, he announced to the table that they'd probably be fighting a Frankenstein's monster. I don't care how obvious the exterior shot of the mansion made that. Fully half of my party wasn't even aware flesh golems were a thing in D&D, and they were upset the surprise was ruined. And now I had hours of adventure building up to a ruined reveal. The first time I threw a mimic at the party was fun. The offender was the only member of the group with a clear idea what a mimic was. So the rogue, she nearly gets mauled by this mimic in her rush for treasure and wants to know what her character might know about these creatures. As I'm explaining what she knows, mimics can pretend to be inanimate objects and lure greedy, annoying mobile rogues to death by grapple. The offender mentions, "Used to be they only look like treasure, but I read they can be doors now too." No check. Out of character comment. Just throws it out there. "Been reading the new monster manual, have you?" I say, and he just looks at me for a minute. No, I was guessing." Didn't sound like a guess. And so, armed with that fear, literally every doorway the party encountered from then on for weeks, until real life got in the way of the campaign, became a 15-minute ordeal of making sure it wasn't trapped or a mimic. Greetings, you infinitely angelic, golden love child of consciousness and carbon. Thank you for watching to the very end. I hope you were not too disgusted by these displays of metagaming to make it through. Real quick, just wanted to remind you again to check out our streams on Sundays and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. GMT. That's story time on Sundays and D&D on Wednesdays. Please join our subreddit if you want to share your stories with us. Of course, if you have an example of most egregious metagaming, you are welcome to share it in the comments section of this video. If you're a DM or player looking to get your game on, you may have some luck finding your party on our Discord server, where over 1,600 D&D obsessed weirdos such as myself gather to spam and be spammed in return. It's pretty bananas in there. Shouts out to our mod team and our admins. If you're new around these parts, please say hello in the comments. If you've been orbiting our happy little planet for a while, drop a pun in the comments. As always, I hope and trust that you are taking care of yourself and your loved ones, as the world around us is rapidly atomized by time and bureaucracy, holding space for the activities and folk that bring you joy, in turn pointing that cosmic bliss cannon right back at them. Stay hydrated, eat well, wipe from front to back, and please sub for Nat 20s. You are loved, and you are worthy. May your path be kind to you until our paths cross once more. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next one.